Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for this little training and a little opportunity for me to share some things that I used to teach Genesis 37 through 41 about Joseph being sold into Egypt and clear up through his time where he's promoted to be second in command in Egypt next to Pharaoh. So let's talk a little bit about what I did and share a few things with you. Number one, I found it beneficial to share just a review. I did this the week before too with Jacob, his wives and his sons, but just a quick review of who he was married to and to review the 12 tribes of Israel. And so in doing that, I then also pointed out that Joseph was the birthright son. And then I also showed that Rachel died in childbirth when Benjamin was born. And so then I wanted to talk about the family dynamics of this family, the house of Israel, Jacob and his sons and things like that, and talk to them about their own families and point out that, you know what, families have difficulties. All families have difficulties. If I pointed out to my students, if you think you know some families that don't have problems, it just tells me you don't really know that family very well, because every family has some problems. And so we just went through a few things. I found this graphic just with a simple Google search of Joseph's dreams, and I found it helpful because most of the kids don't know what a sheaf is. So as Joseph tells his dream about the sheaves and worshiping him and things like that, this was a good opportunity to have that as a visual for them. And then we talked about their desire to throw him in the pit and then to sell him as a slave and make a profit, and then to lie to their dad about it. And that was all chapter 37. Goes fairly quick. A little bit of discussion about dealing with problems in families and things like that. But then we talk about Joseph in Potiphar's house and how he, had problems. He had trials and tribulations, but he did the best with what he had, and he rose to the top. And then, of course, Potiphar's wife and how Joseph chose the right. But even in choosing the right, he ended up being punished, if you will, and suffering negative consequences, even though he did what was right. And I love this quote from Elder Maxwell about bad situations can wear down even good people, but Joseph had good sense and good legs in fleeing from Potiphar's wife. And we talked about the importance of action, and not just, thoughts, and not just determination to do what is right, but actually carry through and do what is right. And then we go back and talk about him being thrown into jail, and how would that make you feel if you had done right and then were being treated as if you did wrong. But Joseph's not content just to, be in prison. He's the best prisoner he can be, and the prison guard recognizes the spirit in him and treats him well. So then I shared this quote from Joseph Smith about never being discouraged. Well-known quote. And the kids enjoyed that. I think found some inspiration in this quote from Joseph Smith. Then we continued to talk about his time in prison with the story of the butler and the baker. And, of course, we mentioned throughout this a couple references to Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and particularly the kids that are involved in drama and have seen the musical. They enjoyed talking about it from that angle as well, and making some references there. And then I point out that Joseph was forgot by the butler also, and he, was forgotten. We don't know how long he languished in that prison, but he stayed in that prison. So then we get to Pharaoh's dream, and again, a simple Google search brought up this graphic to help talk about the dream, helped him explain it and things like that. And then the butler finally remembers about Joseph, and he gets out of jail and goes and interprets the dream for the Pharaoh. And then he is promoted to second in charge. And we just talked about how, if you stay faithful, God will make all things work together for your good. And we discussed that principle. And then I had prepared, I didn't actually get to it with any of my classes, but I had prepared to share President Uchtdorf's message about continuing patience and the inspirational message that was made from that. You'll remember it with the marshmallow experiment and things like that. And then, of course, he talks about his time in military training and how he thought he ought to be more blessed and things like that, but talks about the importance of continuing in patience until the Lord comes through with the rewards that he's promised. And so that's about what I did for the week, and it was good. The students seemed to enjoy it, and it's a story that some of them were familiar with, partly because of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, others just from past church experience. But they could see a lot of application in how to face trials in their own life and how to deal with things like that. So I think it was a good thing, and just talked about how each time Joseph faced a trial, he remained faithful to the Lord. He turned to the Lord and relied on his covenants, and the Lord brought him out on top. So it can be a great week, memorable. And then, of course, then next week we'll continue on and finish out the book of Genesis. So make it a great week. Thanks for all you do, everybody, and I'll talk to you later.